Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Man Cave Chronicles. Your host, James Dean Littlejohn. How the devil are you on this, for me, fine Tuesday? And hopefully, you're having a fine day with whatever day it is you're listening to this podcast. How are you? Hopefully, you've been okay. We're here to talk about mental health. Specifically, today, my predominant topic is going to be about masking. I think something I've been researching quite a bit lately. Trying to understand a little bit about myself. And I suppose if you're autistic, ADHD, this might resonate with you. It might well do. Something that I'm learning, especially navigating different work fields and things like that. So, but first of all, before I even break into any of that, shenanigans. I will say thank you very much to the last person. I did a podcast, and for some reason, I messed around with the settings. I didn't really know what I was doing. I still don't know what I'm doing. That's life. I keep saying that. No one knows what the fuck they're doing. We're just bumbling our way through. But yeah, I had the gain turned right down, but I adjusted some settings. But also, what I realised is I was practically eating the mic. So what I've done is I've got an extra filter. So I'm a filter on a filter, and it's the way I go. I basically, if in doubt, just chuck as much as you can at it. You know what I mean? So I'm hoping this is basically number one, pulled me away, and number two, hopefully, because I'm not like this, going. So thank you very much. I got this YouTube, and it's weird because I've been on YouTube, but I never really paid attention to YouTube. I kind of like just uploaded it to Spotify and just kind of went, it is what it is. It's a big field podcast at the moment. It has been for a while, to be fair. So you kind of get lost, but I think the good thing with this application that I use, which is Riverside, they allow you to share to multiple locations without any stress. So for me, I found YouTube. And what I will say for YouTube is there's veterans on there, shall we say? So veterans that have listened long periods, hours and hours of listening, and basically the message was, I listened for a minute, and you know, you sound really distorted and your gain's too high. So I was like, thank you very much, mate. I really do appreciate that. I don't know otherwise because I don't watch my videos back. I'm just kind of raw, unedited, upload, and away you go. Once I've done it from here and it's filtered through to here and I've spat that out, that's me done. That's as far as I'm concerned. That's me. I feel like I've done something. I feel like I've given back, and also ultimately, I feel the relief that I've spoken about something. So for me, I don't want to listen back to myself. I don't like the sound of my voice. I don't know anyone that really does like the sound of their voice, unless unless you've got one of these real husky voices that you hear on radio all the time. You're like, oh god, that sounds sexy, or that sounds hot, or whatever it may be. I think I've got an annoying voice, but then I suppose most people do. I assume, actually. I mean, I'm just being presumptuous there. So thank you. Anyway, thank you for the feedback. As abrupt as it was, I respected it because that's how I like. It's black and white. Your distortion's too high. So hopefully, I've made a better go of this. Also, the fact that I've also drawn myself back. I said also twice there. I've drawn myself back, and I'm also trying to talk like less abruptly. So normally I'm quite like, oh, yeah, it's good. And I don't want to be like that. So I'm trying to draw that back a little bit. Anyway, we digress. How the devil are you? Hopefully you've been okay. I really, like I said, got some good feedback actually from the last podcast, which was really nice. Because I was talking about sort of knowing your worth. And, one of the things that I'm really understanding at the moment is this new work stream I'm in. So this new work environment, and just how much I'm finding it difficult to just, I don't know. I've never really experienced it before. I've never really experienced the level of difficulty that I have going into work at the moment. And it's not like, I'm not using it as an excuse not to go into work, because I love work. I do. I genuinely do. It gives me purpose, gives me focus. It gives me routine. So for me, work is invaluable. I actually, as an autistic, I prefer it. I prefer to go in and succeed and do things. And as long as it's structured, as long as it's, I get enough detail to why I'm doing it. Often, I find it enjoyable, and I like getting up. I like getting up to my routine, go to work, do certain things, come home, and that's my routine. So for me, really good. And then I found the niche in safety that gives me something new every single day. So from my perspective, the ADHD aspect is hit as well. So it's a bit of a winner chicken dinner. So yeah, but I'm finding things difficult. I find it really difficult. And what I have been doing is reflecting quite a bit. And ultimately, as I do these podcasts, the bit that I do at the end is I do the reflection piece, because I think it's invaluable for me to to talk, but at the same time understand what I'm talking about, because at the end of the day I don't have a filter. I'm just talking. Hence the reason why I'm effing and jeffing, because I don't really sort of filter it. This is the natural me. But one thing I have noticed, really, really prominently, at the forefront of my mind, is just how much I mask now. And I think for me, that's the bit that I feel like I've lost a bit of identity, if I'm honest. One of the things I've had for years and years, even through school, even like, I was late diagnosed. So, for me, I wasn't diagnosed till I was 39. So you can imagine I've gone through 39 years of a different work environments, been in the military, um, school, military, mechanic, lots of different things, and then working as a contractor, but in the same job. I've been I've not had to mask much. I've been able to be who I am, because I used to go into work. And the reason I talk about it so prominently is because Friday my friend came over and we had a really deep conversation, and we were talking about how we've advanced, and we live by our means, and when you live by your means, like what was acceptable to live by, which was about 24k, for instance, say 24, 25k, you live by your means, and that gets you by. And then the more money you earn, the more you spend, the more money you need to earn to go further and further, etc., because you live by your means. Doesn't matter whether you're earning 25k or you're earning 100k. You'll live by your means, so you'll spend more money at 100k. So there's no difference. Obviously, the difference being, um, you get more for your buck, more bang for your buck, and if you live to your means in that sense and you're spending 100k, you like the lavish, like the lavish lifestyle, if you like. So, for me, as I've gone through the promotion phases and things like that, I'm realizing that it's harder, and it's harder for me to mask. It's harder. I have to be more fake, if that's even a word. I have to be faker. So, and I think so. That's the bit I think I'm inherently struggling with. Is we said to ourselves, we were chatting away, I had a couple of beers, and I'll talk about that in a little bit of in due course. But what I will say is, we were talking, we had a couple of beers. I haven't had a beer for a good 5 or 6 weeks. And even then, before then, I didn't have a drink for about 4 months. It's really unusual for me I've kind of gone off alcohol, but he came round and we went a bit old school, and, we were sort of chatting and stuff and putting the world to rights. And he messaged me in the morning and said, can I come over? Now, if he messages me and says, can I come over? That normally means he needs that sort of kind of release of, being an adult. It's horrible to be an adult, but to be an adult in the current environment we are I think is even worse, because at least when I was in the military, or even a contractor, or even at school, I was able to be who I am. Yes, there was often repercussions, as I've learned over the years. There's repercussions to acting out and doing things rebelliousness wise. If you're ADHD, if I go and do something stupid, there's always a repercussion. But I was able to be stupid so often that it was never really big. It was never really, shit, I've done something fucking mental here. What I've noticed now, or certainly noticed now in prominent terms, is the ability to mask is slipping away. I find it really, really hard, and actually find it more and more exhausting, because I can't be who I really am. And that for me is the bit that I'm struggling with. In fact, it's crazy. In fact, I'm going to share a text message that I sent to him this morning. We were chatting away, and basically we turned around and we said, oh fucking hell, this is horrendous. We live by our means, and now we're earning a certain amount of money. You've got to find a job to find that certain amount of money. Are you going to be able to find that job and be who you are? 9 times out of 10 you can't. That's what happens. You go up the layers of life, and yes, you get more money, but with more money comes more responsibility, more knowledge is needed, more experience is needed. You have to be more adult-like. You can't get away with being a bit stupid, if you like. And my last message to him was, this is exactly what I put: I can assure you, in bold letters now, I do not laugh in this job. Ha ha ha. And he laughed at that, because it's true. I don't laugh in this job. It's 99.9% recurring seriousness. And I suppose when you're dealing with safety and you're dealing with compliance, you have to be serious. There's no time for, being stupid, if you like, and being outrageous or being impulsive. It's probably the easiest. The other ones are sort of negligible, really. It's more about being impulsivity. And I don't get to do that. And I find that really, really, really hard. And what I've noticed now is I get migraines a lot easier. I stress out a lot easier, but I don't stress out in work. I manage to do that. But to be in work and to mask and be a completely different person to who my brain wants to be, I find really, really hard. Yes, it's easy for an autistic person to excel because you normally get attention to detail. You normally, you're quite quiet, and I don't know, really. There's a multitude of things that come with autism. But what I have learned is the ADHD aspect, the bit that is impulsive, the bit that is outrageous, the bit that wants fun, the bit that is rebellious. That person is never allowed to come out because I'm in a leadership role. So you have to be setting examples. You have to walk in with a certain demeanor. You have to walk in with a certain, you have to come in with knowledge, experience. And like I said, you'd have to be able to talk about things and you have to be able to switch on real quick. So as much as the autistic side of me really, really fucking likes that bit, the ADHD doesn't. And what I'm finding now is I'm masking so much, I'm getting exhausted. Like I get to 4 o'clock and I'm fucking drained. I'm absolutely drained. I get to Thursday and I'm completely wiped out. Friday is now just an admin day for me to switch off, come and work from home, and I get the luxury of that. But Monday to Thursday, because I'm being so fake, is the easiest way to put it in layman's terms. I'm being fake. I'm not being who I want to walk in. I can do the job, but at the same time, I want fun and I want rebellion. I want to, there's sometimes where you'll go around a conversation, you'll go around a workplace and you'll have a certain conversation and it almost feels a little bit naughty. You're like, oh, we're adults, we're all adults. And you talk about innuendos or something. And I get a bit excited and I'm like, fucking, yeah, that's exciting. And then I go in and I'm, oh, yeah, remember when I did this when I was younger, fucking finger blasting, and I get outrageous. Yet you're not allowed to do that. And do you know what? One of the biggest telltale signs for me was where I found it struggled was I went out for a drink. And this was probably about 5 months ago. I went out for a drink and met a few of my work colleagues. And all of my work colleagues were, there was one group that I can talk to normally, if you like. That's the easiest way to say it. And then there's another group of my work colleagues that are sort of above me, so I have to be careful about what I say around them because obviously there's a set example. You must be setting an example. I get that. It's the code of conduct. I get that. I 100% get it. But when I'm out in civil service, in civil terms, as in just me having a bit of a laugh, I like to be myself because I'm outside. I'm doing my own thing. And we had this conversation at work, and I'm going to give you a little snippet. We had this conversation about work, and one of the conversations was, have you ever knocked one out in work? You ever have a quick cheeky wank? The amount of people that literally were like looking like taken back. And then I was, oh yeah, knock one out all the time, getting paid to knock one out. I don't, by the way, but it was a conversation I was excited about. And I sat there and I was like, I don't know. It was fun. It was naughty. It was a bit outrageous. And I was like, yeah, gotta get out there. You're getting paid to tug one off. Anyway, that conversation was a laugh. It was a hoot. And you could see certain people come out with a few stories and you were like, oh, Christ, all right, it fucking does then, does it? And I suppose that fed into the naughtiness. I felt a bit rebellious. Anyway, I went over and my boss colleague, if you like, we'll call him my boss colleague, said to me, oh, yeah, you look like you were all having good giggles and good laughs. Now, normally, a person would have turned around and said, well, we were talking about this. You probably would have lied and just gone, it is what it is. And I would have masked up and I would have said, oh, yeah, no, we were just laughing about something that happened to one of our colleagues or one of our friends. And we were just laughing about it. You'd have made up some sort of shit story. I didn't. And bearing in mind, there was 7 people at the table and they were all above me and they were all, they weren't of the same background with me. That's probably the easiest way to say it. They're all very much university, corporate, never really been around military, never really been around proper civil, what do I call them? Contractors, if you like. So the normal people, I call them. They were in their own little corporate environment. If you've ever been in a corporate environment, it's a bubble. It's a bubble of difference. Let's say that. And anyway, I happened to turn around and said, oh yeah, we were talking about fucking wanking at work and getting paid to knock one off. And everybody's face on the table was like, did he just say what I think he just said? And I was like, yeah, it's absolutely hilarious. You said that yeah, she'd been bummed in this one. And, she went to this plant room and got bummed. And anyway, I was just having a laugh, but I got caught up in a moment because it was an outrageous conversation. I was having a good time. but I looked around and you could see, and it's one of those ones where you kind of look at this thing. James, you should really read the room. I didn't read the room that time, but it's weird because that's my mindset. I'm just outrageous. I just like having a good time, and I've been so suppressed. One of the things I feel I've forgotten, if anything, is I can do this and I can mask up and I can be the person I want to be, and I can be that fake person, and I can go to work and I can turn up on time and I can do a really good job. I can go above and beyond. I'm a typical yes man. So, you ask me to do something, I'll do it, and I'll do it to the best of my ability. If I don't know how to do it, I'll go and research how to do it, and I will give you a polished final product. That is something I attribute to myself, and my neurodivergency allows me to do that. It allows me to do it at pace because it's just the way I work. My mind ticks like that. So I get a lot of I get a lot of reward from that process. So I get some reward out of it. But what I am finding more and more recently is it's almost like I've forgotten my identity, because I mask up so much and I'm so exhausted when I'm not masking up that I sleep, I chill. I was in bed at 8:30 last night. What the fuck's that about? Bearing in mind, I will say it is colder than a witch's tit in the UK right now. So I'm going to sleep to fucking hibernate. I'm a bear, you know what I mean? So I like to hibernate. I like to eat food in the winter and I like to sleep. So I like to be a bear. But that aside, it is also down to the fact that it's my report week. So for me, I've got to be on point. I've got to write this fucking comprehensive report with details everywhere. And ultimately it goes to the executives. So for me, it's a really, really important week to demonstrate I know what I'm doing, and what I'm doing is, managing X, Y, and Z. So it's tough because I have to put in a lot of granular detail, and because of the level it's going at, it has to be at it has to be high grade, it has to be high quality, it has to be informative, it has to be punchy. You have to condense it so that someone will read it. And it involves stats, rag rating, all this sort of stuff. So there's lots of information, and it normally takes me about 3 days solid, sat in front of a computer, pretty much not moving. I didn't move yesterday. I moved for 15 minutes yesterday. And I know there's going to be people out there going, watch out for muscular skeletal damage. I couldn't think about that then. That was a tongue twister right there. Muscular skeletal damage. And to the point where I'm like, I didn't fucking move for like 8 hours. I moved, the 15 minutes I moved was when I needed a fucking poo. I was going in. I need one now. Because I'd sat there and fucking drawn it in for so much that I was like, okay, now it's time to go, James. Now it's time to go. You're turtle-headed. Get in there. And that's the only time I had a break. And then I came back down and I fucking pressed in front of the computer again, which is really bad of me. But again, I know I have to do something. I have a deadline of 3 days. I have to get it to a high level. So I'm ticking all of these boxes. You can see the boxes are being ticked. I've got a high deadline, fast-paced deadline. I've got granular detail. I've got attention to detail. It's going to high level. It's getting your name out there. So you can imagine every single box is ticked for me to hyper focus on that. And I do. I absolutely hyper focus. And then I get it out, and then I get it done. And I had it done today. And I sat there and I was like, I'm fucking exhausted. I physically was exhausted. I mean, yesterday I was in bed at 8:30 because I was that tired. And I know I'm going to have another another early night tonight because I've had a really long day. So, but it ticks all of those boxes. It's brilliant for that, but it's exhausting. And then when I sit there and I've done all this, because it's ticked every box, I'm almost paralyzed. I just want to go to bed. Now, it doesn't finish there for me, because tomorrow is preparation for the meeting that the report is being read out on Thursday, and I have to read the report on Thursday. So 4 days of pure fucking craziness for me, because it's hyper focus right up till Thursday, and it doesn't finish until 4:30 on Thursday. Friday, I know Friday and Saturday, I'm going to be wiped out, completely and utterly wiped out, because I've had to talk, I've had to stand up in front of people, I've had to deliver, I've had to write a report, deliver a report, and then cascade that report. So all of this is stuff that I have to do. Now, none of that is normally what I would be classed as fun. None of it is fun. All of it is part of my job. So I get the reward at the end. So Friday morning, I will feel the reward that I've done a really good week and I've achieved all my milestones and I've ticked all the boxes, and hopefully I get good feedback about the report. That's what I hope for. But because I've masked so much and I've had to stand up in front of people and almost draw myself out of the comfort zone for such a prolonged period of time. Now, most people, if you've got ADHD, you will have a short attention span, but you have to hyperfocus because you've got to give yourself the ability to achieve that timeline. So you have to do something. So, and because I'm so routine on the other side of my brain, and because I'm so such a yes man and want to, and my perfectionism is unachievable at best, but I set myself those goals. The fallout and the wipeout is unbelievable. And that is one thing I've learned. And that sort of feeds back into the last podcast, really, where I was talking about being a yes man and being at your comfort zone. And what it's done really is just, it highlights, can I keep doing this? Because the more I reflect on this, the more I think to myself, am I in the right job? Am I doing the right thing? And now none of us know, I suppose. None of us know if we're in the right job until you do the job, and then you think to yourself, I'm not in the right fucking job. And at the moment, I'm questioning, am I in the right fucking job? Because there's so much pressure and so much you have to mask and so much you can't be yourself that I've almost, in the last 2 years, I think I've almost forgotten who I am. Now, admittedly, the first 6 to 12 months are fun because you're in a new job. It feels new. You're meeting new people. You're hearing new stories. You're tapping into different people all the time. So you get loads of feedback, loads of knowledge. So it's feeding both elements of my neurodivergency are fed in the first 6 to 12 months. And then I see the decline because I go, okay, well, is this really for me? Well, it must be. Yeah, no, it is. It's for me. And now I'm at the point where I'm like, I've done this 2 years. Is this the right fucking job for me? Because I'm fucking blown away. Like, I'm exhausted talking to you. And what's even more frustrating is I did a podcast the other day, completely fucked settings up again. That was an hour wasted. I never uploaded it because it was absolutely shocking in terms of the sound. So for me, I'm like exhausting myself so much, give that I'm not taking. I'm not taking at all. And I'm not looking after myself. I am trying to look after myself. That's wrong, because one of the key points here is I'm doing this podcast. So for me, that helps me. It helps me to understand and face reality. It helps me to, I suppose, analyze everything whilst talking, which is the beauty of this process for me. Is I get to download my problems. Often I overshare, but the oversharing always gives me food for thought at the end of it. So it's as much as you've got that big Sunday roast in front of you and I'm going, well, here you go, let's cook lots of food, let's overshare, let's eat loads and loads and loads. But at the end, I always do feel full because I know I've reflected, I've analyzed, and then that takes me into another week. And I go, okay, well, how can I better myself this week? What have I done last week that I didn't achieve? Or what did I do this week that has maybe affected my mental health? And by talking and by analyzing, I get to process that. And that's my process mechanism. So for me, hopefully, by the way, I've got the hiccups. Excuse me a second. I've gone into it. I can tell I've gone into a full swing there because that was outrageous. I just literally was like, catch your breath, James. I couldn't catch my breath because I was talking at 110 miles an hour. And that's why I talk with my hands as well, by the way, so you can see all this crazy shit going on. I'm just conscious I'm doing all this. I do. I'm a bit of a thrampra. No, I'm not going to fucking say it. Thrampra. I can't fucking talk today. This is abysmal. But yeah, so I overanalyze everything. But at the same time, I get the good results from that. I get the good results in the sense that because I've been able to offload, I get to understand, which is where I came to this conclusion last week. Well, actually, this conclusion came after my last podcast that I didn't publish because of the sound. But what it allowed me to do was I was sat there going, fucking hell, I mask every day. Like, I am not the person I should be. Like, I like to be fun. I like to be the center of attention. What I've inherently been doing is just feeding the autistic side of me by going, no, you've got routine. You turn up, you do this. I know what I'm doing on week 1. I know what I'm doing on week 3, and I know what I'm doing on week 4. The only week that is different in all of my weeks is week 2. Now, when all 4 of those weeks you have to mask because of the type of environment I'm in, and I know the 3 weeks are guaranteed, But there's no fun there at all. There's nothing at all. And I go in and I've exhausted myself by hyperfixating on succeeding all the time. And I just go, I got to succeed, got to succeed, got to succeed. And all I've done is burnt myself out. And I've got myself to the point now where I've got myself in a bit of a tizzy, a bit of a whirlwind here, because I'm like sat there going, I don't know whether I need to move on. Do I need to offload some of my work to give me that work-life balance back and just stay where I am? I don't know. I really don't know. It's an unusual situation for me. But I do know that if I don't make a decision, I will end up burning myself out, or I will end up putting myself into the point where I'll be so outrageously fucking crazy that I'll do something that will probably get me in trouble. And I don't mean something negative, like, we're not talking about arresting or something like that. I'm talking about HR going, James, you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have said that. You couldn't do this. And that's the interesting bit, is when you mask so much and you put that filter on, I think you do forget who you are. And sometimes I do. And then I get into the point where I'm like, God almighty, I'm fucking boring. I do not want to be this person. I don't want to be this fucking boring person. And then I end up working from home because I end up trying to isolate myself to stop myself from being rebellious. What I inherently do when I work from home then is I don't socialize. So because I don't socialize, I don't get the endorphin and dopamine boost from talking to people that are potentially going to give me that opportunity to be a bit outrageous. So it's a balancing act that is really hard to balance. It's almost like you're trying to balance 100K on either side of a stick. And you're like going, I'm never going to find the fucking balancing point here. That's almost the way it feels. So it's a challenge at best. It is an absolute challenge. And what I've seen is I've seen a steady decline. I've seen a steady decline in my mental health. And maybe I'm overthinking things. I don't know. Probably overthinking things, procrastinating. I've had a couple of conversations with some friends and colleagues today. And ultimately they've turned around and they've been a bit cold with me, which is a bit unusual. But that's probably because I've naturally pulled myself away a little bit, because I've kind of gone, I need to protect myself because I'm not happy. And how long can you mask for? Because I actually saw a TikTok of somebody that said about this, pretty much the same thing, to be fair, about masking and about forgetting who you are. And I think it's important that we don't forget who we are, because you can go through life being fake, get it, and you might succeed at being fake for a certain period of time. I don't think it's sustainable. I don't think it's sustainable to be a fake person. I don't think it's sustainable for me not to walk around and be the person I am. I'm certainly feeling that. I'm certainly feeling the pressures of that, the internal pressures of those, not from other people, not from external influences, but from myself. I'm kind of sitting there going, fucking hell, James, there's more to life than this, And when I text messaged my mate this morning saying I can guarantee I do not laugh, and then we both said, the job we had, and we used to work together, best mates work together, which is a dream for a lot of people, to work with your best mate and have fun every day. And we used to sit there, and we sat there, and we actually said, this was on Friday. We sat there and we went, mate, I've not laughed like that in a long time. I would say 80 to 85% of my day for about 10 years was a laugh, and I mean a proper laugh. It was dirty, grimy work. It was a dirty, grimy environment. You were almost the bottom of the food chain, because you were kind of like, you're a painter, so no one really wanted to see you because you were always covered in, paint, smelly fumes and all this sort of stuff. So you were kind of left alone. So you were able to do what you wanted to do. And I remember walking around, and because I never masked up, I used to walk around making fucking crazy animal noises. I used to sit there going, caw, 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 just randomly, and you would just hear from somewhere else and think, caw, and you'd be like, you just make random noises. Now, we all know that if you're ADHD autistic, you'll know that as stimming. Is probably the easiest way to try and decipher it. Normally what you get is stimming, is normally like pain stimming is one of the things. I've also got a little nido. I've got finger things, finger fidget spinners. I've got all these. I've got all of them for trying to keep my mindset. More so now, again, because I'm in meetings all day. Do I see it more prevalent than ever? But I laughed for 80 to 85% of my day. I had fun. I never, ever, ever dreaded going into work. for 10 years, 21 years, actually, I would say. All 21 years, I never dreaded going into work. I always had a laugh. And because it was such a dirty environment, we all bolstered each other up because we knew we were going to do a shit job. It was painting and finishing. You know, you were spraying aircraft, you know, multi-million-pound aircraft. All sounds exhilarating and exciting. But I can tell you now, it's one baseline color. It's normally green or black. So you're not painting anything special. You're not doing anything retro. You know, you're not doing anything sort of outrageous. Although I did get a hint of those. I got an ability to do some of that towards the end of my career. But ultimately, you were sat there with, you know, a white suit on, gloves, hat, full RPE on, with an airline breathing apparatus because the products we were using were carcinogenic, so they were 2-pack polyurethanes. So that may mean nothing to most of you, but they were carcinogenic products. We were using phenol stripper at the start. We were using AE16, I think it was another stripper that basically you cover more than 30% of your arm and you're dead. So when you knew it was a dirty environment, you had to have a laugh because you knew you were just doing a shit job. You know, when you're sat under a main plane of an aircraft in full RPE, sweating your fucking nuts off, literally underneath the main plane of a Hercules, you know, rubbing it down or stripping it. And you were just sat there stripping the paint off for hours on end. Hours. You were like, brrr. You used to just look at your mate and you'd be like, you sat there, you fucking chuck a stick at him or something. Stick it, you know, like a sanding disc. You chuck a sanding disc. Hey, you fucking idiot. You know, it was, you had to make the best of a bad situation. So because I don't get that worry, because I'm not in a dirty environment, I go in and just do my job and they just expect me to do my job. I can do my job with my fucking eyes closed. What I can't do is be myself. And that is one thing that I said to him on Friday. My mate came round and I said to him, fucking hell, mate, this is hard work. And we both said it. We both said, this is fucking hard work. This is not a fun job. There is nothing fun about getting up in the morning and going to this, because you deal with negativity 24/7. And there is nothing positive in my job. I can say on my hand in 2 years, on one hand, probably 3 things. So 3 in 2 years that I've had has had a success story. Everything else has just been fucking hard work. Now, don't get me wrong. There'll be elements of that where I'm probably underselling myself a little bit, because there will be successes in there, but I don't see them. I don't see the full bigger picture of the success. I just see more negativity. There's an issue. Can you resolve it? Can an issue? Can you resolve it? Can an issue? Can you resolve it? And not only every time there's an issue, can you resolve it, you have to record what you've resolved. And you're like, fucking hell, I can't do this. Fuck this off. And you sit there and I'm gagging to take my mask off. I'm like, fucking, let's go. Walk away. I can't do that. I cannot fucking be that person. I have to be professional. What's professional about? It's not an enjoyable thing for me. Anyway, I digress, but that's where I'm sat. So it's really interesting. And I'd love to know some thoughts, actually. I'd love to know what your thoughts are. Anyone that's listening to this, ADHD, autistic, you know, what sort of environment, you know, you going into an environment where you've got into a job, you didn't know what the job was, and now you're stuck in it because you've masked so much. Everyone fucking like, you know, that's not James. I guarantee if I went into work and was a bit outrageous, there'd probably be a handful, if not probably, a handful, 5 people, I'd probably say at most would expect me to be that person and go, I've seen parts of the real James. The rest of the people would sit there and go, fucking hell, mate, that guy's fucking off his rocker, mate. And then you would, because you know, it's even like I'm doing reverse mentoring for the chief exec. Basically, I'm reverse mentoring him, which is a really big accolade for me, because I get to give feedback on the performance of somebody that's well above me, and also get to learn from them. And then he gave me some topics. We had 15 sessions. He gave me some topics. Now, he would see me as every single topic he gave me, I wrote a paper. I wrote a paper on, and I said, well, this is my thoughts. What are your thoughts? And he was like, you didn't have to do this. I was like, no, but I wanted to. I want to offer something for this as well, because you're giving back to me by me asking you questions about, you know, the reverse mentoring side of things and how you're dealing with stuff. I'd like to know your thoughts. So it's really interesting. I get a lot out of that, but at the same time, if that person saw me, I would have to be a completely fake person to carry on that conversation. I couldn't be my normal person. I couldn't say, oh, fucking all right, mate, what'd you do the weekend? Get on a few fucking beers, blast a few birds, way, get a fucking, you know what I mean? I couldn't do that. Do a bit of archery, some fucking surfing, some paddleboarding. I couldn't do any of that. Because as far as he's concerned, I'm James. I'm James Littlejohn. And yes, I'm here to talk about sustainability, and I'm here to talk about compliance. I'm here to talk about this, this, and this, and this, and this, and this. Yes. Fucking exhausts me now. It exhausts me talking about it. So he would see a different side of me. I suppose that some bits probably creep out a little bit. You know, I can drop an F-bomb in there every now and then, but it's not me. It's not really me. So it's interesting. I think it's really interesting for me in just how fucking hard it is to keep that mask on. It's getting harder, and I've only been doing it for 4 years. I've probably say the last 4 years I've been wearing a mask. In fact, no, that would be a lie. I would say 2 years, because even in my last role, I didn't mask up. I went into work. I am who I am. I would go to meetings and I would say, and some people would say, "Fucking hell, James, that's outrageous. You can't say that." And I go, "I can." And I would try, and I often try to deliver the message in such a way that you find it funny, hopefully. And I've managed to get through 42 years of my life without going to HR. So that's a bit of a plus side. I'm not going to say it's 42 years without being arrested or anything like that, because that'd be a fucking lie. Drunk and disorderly mainly, but again, we feed into the neurodivergency and how alcoholism affects ADHD. So that's a topic for the future. So it's really interesting how, like, I haven't, but I sit here now and I have to be the shining example, which I can do in abundance, but it's how long I can do it for. And I've noticed that in this environment, I'm struggling. I'm really, really struggling. I'm really struggling to maintain keeping that mask on. Not so much at work, not so much during the day. It's afterwards. I get my exhaustion from being somebody I'm not and having to actively suppress myself is shocking. It's horrible. Like it's really horrible. And then when I do, and then what happened was, and inherently what happened was, and I'll digress into this actually, so we're going to jump onto another path here. And Friday, I said Friday, my mate came over on Friday. He messaged me Friday morning and he said to me, dude, I'm going to come round for some beers tonight. You know, we haven't seen each other. I haven't been round to the Clock and Balls. This is the bar. This is my man cave. The Man Cave Chronicles in here, but also the beers are in here. So it's got a bit of a double-edged sword. And actually, it's Clock and Balls and it's the Man Cave Chronicles. So it's a bit of both. So party time, podcast time, party podcast. That's what we do. And he said, I haven't been around for like, I couldn't. He said, I didn't know how I haven't been around for ages. And I said to him, you haven't been around for 6 weeks. I was pinpointing it. 6 weeks this Friday, actually. And he was like, right, I'm coming around for some fucking beers. And I was like, oh, okay then. Now, I had all intentions, because I hadn't drunk for 5 weeks. And this was like the 5th week coming up. And I was like, at the end of the 5th week. And I was like, I felt really good. I felt I'd gripped the alcohol bit, because when I have a taste for alcohol, I tend to just go fucking all in. Like I said, I used to drink a litre bottle of vodka, a litre bottle of gin, and at least 12 beers, 8 to 12 beers a weekend. Every weekend for about 4 years. I was like, fucking hell. I was just an absolute fucking, it never got drunk. I just enjoyed the taste. I enjoyed the way it made me feel, and I fucking got on it. On my own. Most nights I'd sit in here, or I'd game and I'd be fucking slugging them back, and I'd wake up and I'd have an horrendous hangover, and then I'd feel depressed for about 3 or 4 days. And I'd just go through that rhetoric. I'd go through that whole motion. And then I'd get to Wednesday, and then I would have another beer on Wednesday, and I'd have a beer on Thursday, and then Friday I'd be on it. You know, and then Saturday I'll be on it, and then Sunday a couple of beers with Sunday roast. That was my rhetoric, constantly for about 4 years. The only time I didn't drink was Monday and Tuesday. They were the days, and that was where Monday I would contemplate fucking life, and Tuesday I'd be like, oh, I feel a bit better. Wednesday I'd feel pretty normal and go, let's fucking go again. I made that active decision because I wanted to lose weight. This was my key driver was losing weight, actually, and I lost 3 stone. I'm down 3 stone now, so I'm down to about 87 kilograms. So that for me is real kudos. And that's just all that is cutting out alcohol and cutting out bread. That's literally what it is. And hitting 10,000 steps a day. So like really, really, like I've seen such good rewards. And then I went away on holiday, went to my cheeky trip to Benidorm, had a couple of days on it. I only a couple of days out of the 4 nights. And even that was enough for me. And I kind of like got to the point where even then on that holiday, I'd had enough of drinking. Then I got to the point where I came back and I was like, I don't miss drinking. I'm not interested in drinking. I really wasn't. Anyway, I've got the breaking point of a soggy Kit Kat. So he came round on Friday. And I was in the shop buying my alcohol. So I was in there going, right, what do you want, James? I'm going to get a couple of beers, just a couple. So I was going to buy a 4-pack of Peronis because I like my Peronis. And I was like, I'll drink them. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy 0% gin. I wasn't going to tell my friend. I was going to say to him, we're getting drunk. Because I don't get drunk, because I don't, it's nigh on impossible. And again, that is, tends to be a neurodivergent thing for me. And as I've researched that and spoke to my therapist about that, that's probably because, number one, the autism doesn't like to let go. So it doesn't like to let myself out of control. And also I've got a very high tolerance to drink and drugs on my ADHD side. And when I say drugs, I'm not talking about, smashing down ketamine or any class A's. I mean, even cocodamol, gabapentin, anything like that. Cocodamol, I used to take 8 a day, every single day for 3 years. Minimum 8, by the way, not even just 8. I used to take minimum 8, would average around 8 to 12. I got massively, and again, that's my addictive personality, but I didn't feel the effects. And I built up such a tolerance to it that I was fucking popping them like Smarties. So I know I've got a high tolerance, and I know I've never been, like, I can probably count in the last 10 years on 2 hands how many times I've been drunk. I don't let go. It's really, really hard for me to let go. So it's almost counterintuitive, really. Then why do you drink? Because you're not going to get drunk, but I like the taste. So I was like, right, I like the taste. I'm going to drink with him. I'm going to get a couple of beers because they'll be just a couple of softeners. And then I'll go on to the 0% gin. So he won't know the difference. I was going to pour the gin into a gin bottle and I was just going to blag it. And then when I woke up in the morning, I wouldn't have felt hazy. I wouldn't have felt depressed. And I would have just gone on about my day. I didn't do that because I went into the shop and they didn't sell 0% alcohol. And I was like, fuck, that's a fucking kick in the dick. So I ended up going, well, what's up there? So shiny sides. And I looked around and I was like, oh, peach Miami vodka. I haven't had vodka for about 15 years because I've been on gins. I was like, fuck it, I'm going to go all in. So I bought a litre bottle of gin and a 4-pack of Peronis. I stuck to the Peronis. Peach vodka. See, I'm used to saying gin. Came back here, got myself ready. And then my mate come round and I was like, right, I've got 4 beers, 2 to get started. So 2 each. And then he brought round a litre bottle of gin. We just fucking drank to the point where I drank that litre bottle of vodka. Wasn't pissed. Don't remember going to bed. So I must have been pissed. I do remember going to bed. That's a lie. I don't remember saying going to bed. I think as I went outside, the fresh air sniper twatted me in the face. And I was like, fucking hell, we're at bedtime. But I remember saying, let's have one for the road. And I went in and it was that last bit. We had that last bit each. So he had a litre of gin. I had a litre of vodka. He was absolutely obliterated. I practically carried him to bed. And then basically I woke up next morning and I felt horrendous. Like the fucking hangover from hell. I felt severely depressed. And then the knock-on effect of that was Sunday. I felt awful. Felt like I wasted my weekend. I ate loads of fucking crap on fucking Tuesday, loads of carbohydrate foods, had a Chinese fucking curry at night because I craved the spicy food from the drink. And then I get to bloody Monday and I'm sat there on Monday and I'm doing my walk in the morning. My normal routine kicked in. So I'm up at 6:30, I'm walking the dog and I'm doing my walk round with the dog. And I'm sat there and I'm messaging my mate because I message him every morning. We message every morning, Monday to Friday, say, have a good day, etc., etc. And I was sat there and I was like, mate, I genuinely don't think I can drink anymore. I feel like shit. I've been depressed all weekend. And it wasn't like he came round and we had a couple of beers and then went to bed. We came round and we got on it old school. We were fucking like there was at points where we still had half a glass and we were like, do you want a drink? Like, there's still half a glass, mate. Half a fucking one of these. Where is it? Got it here. Oh, shit, mate. Half of one of them bad boys. Proper gin glass. Half of one of them. Up there in the old fucking stacking and racking. Half of one of those. And I was like, oh, should we go get a drink? Fucking. And he was like, yeah, let's go get a drink. So we were down in this drink as we were walking to the fucking kitchen to go and get another drink. Come back. And then it just resulted in, so we had this little bit of a lull. We were playing darts. We were chilling. We were chewing the fucking fat. We were having a bit of a laugh. We got into a bit of a heated debate, actually, which was unusual. But again, I put that down to both of us being in a pretty stressful job. So we kind of like, it was a release that we needed. And we mentioned a topic and I felt passionate about the topic. And he was We were talking about autism actually, and basically we got into a bit of a heated discussion about it. And anyway, we put it to bed and went, fuck it, should we go and get a drink? Because I know where this is going to go. This is going to end up in a blazing fucking row. So we went and got a drink and we shut off. And then what we did is we reverted to, do you know what? Let's not talk. We're clearly both in a tired, stressful state. So let's just get fucking drunk. And we did. We got absolutely fucking obliterated. And the fallout from that was horrendous. Like, there's an element of this thing you see in social media at the moment where a lot of the younger generation, so pretty much my daughter's generations, 18, 19, 18 and 14, their generations just don't drink. Like my eldest does not drink anymore, doesn't touch it, doesn't go out, just literally, I think her Friday night fun is walking around Tesco, seeing if she can get some bargains and stuff like that and some good food. So, and my middle daughter doesn't drink at all. My younger daughter, 14, never even tried it, which is unusual because at 13, I was drinking shit mix. And, do you know what? I'm going to have another drink because I'm talking so quick today. I do apologize. I'm just wetting the whistle. But they don't drink. And I used to find it very unusual because I was raised with drinking and born in the 80s. You were inherently just a fucking drinkathon. It was a constant drinkathon. I spent most of I think from the ages of certainly 18 when I could drink legally, 18 till about fucking 30, just obliterated. Most fucking weekends, obliterated all the time. I mean, when I was 18, I used to drink on a Thursday, Friday, and a Saturday and be hungover on a Sunday, a bit like I did for the last 4 years, really. So I kind of got out of that loop because I was like, alcohol is the devil's work. I don't care what anyone says. Yes, it's used as a numbing tool. I get that. It's used to numb people's perspective, numb people's lives. And it's a cheap tool. It's a cheap tool to basically forget the shit life you may be having. I get that. I understand it. I respect it because at the end of the day, I don't know what you've been doing. I don't know what has happened in your life where you want to numb it down. So I get that that's the tool that you're using. Do I think it's the right tool? No, I don't. Absolutely not. And as somebody with a blatant addictive personality, a taste for alcohol, that was clearly like I hadn't drunk for 5 weeks, hadn't even touched it, not even thought of it, not even considered it. As soon as that first fucking beer went past my lips, fucking on it, mate. Let's fucking go. Lock them up. Let's fucking go. And that's what I did. And that's where I go. And I messaged my mate and I was like, I can't do this, mate. I cannot binge drink to the extent we are. I cannot do that. You're not coming around for good company. You're coming round to get absolutely fucked off your face and go to bed. Now, I said to him on the Monday, I said this, and we kind of we had a short message on Monday because we were both not in a great place. Tuesday, I said to him, right, mate, nothing's changed. I'm still feeling depressed. I don't want to fucking drink. I said, we need to come up with a way or an ability for you to come over and have a couple of drinks. And then we have a few drinks and then we play games. We do something. And what got me even more is I've got entertainment everywhere. We could play darts, we can play sim, we can do whatever we want to do. So I'm sat there going why are we defaulting to getting absolutely mashed and then completely and utterly ruining 4 days of our lives? Where I will say on that Saturday, I woke up, I was in such a bad headspace. I was like, I don't want to fucking be here. This is horrible. And for me, when I go into that dark place, all it does is just reignite all the shit that I'm trying to keep at bay. So it doesn't numb me. If anything, it might numb me for the night and might numb me to the point where I'm obliterated now. But because I don't do it routinely, I don't suppress it. So all I do is it just comes back in an absolute fucking abundance the next couple of days. I sit there and go, this is fucking bullshit. This is fucking crap. And then that's where on Tuesday, we literally messaged each other and said, fucking hell, I don't like this. Where's the fun gone in my life? If that's what fun is, if that's the only fun we've got where you come round, we drink a litre bottle of gin and vodka, we get absolutely smashed and we wake up and we're depressed for 4 days, that's not a game I want to play. I don't want to play that game. It's not a fun game for me. I'm not saying I'm quitting drinking because that would be wrong for me because I'm not in it to quit. You know what I mean? I'm trying to think about how I word this because I don't disagree with a drink. I think it's there as it's like mostly it's like sweets. You could say, well, sweets are making us obese. Crisps are fucking us up. I think Doritos have just put out this thing about some additive they used to use that that's cancer causing. So I believe that it's there for a moderation tool, and I believe it's there to relax you. I believe it's there to give you whatever you need. I don't agree with it being a tool. I think there's so much more negativity that is surrounded with alcohol than there is anything else. I genuinely, I think the two things that should be fucking banned. I mean, I'm not I'm a massive advocate for marijuana. I think that needs to be brought back. I think if anything, legalize that than I would do over alcohol. Like I've been to Amsterdam, not tried it myself, but I've been to Amsterdam and I've seen the way of life. And the only people that are really kicking off in Amsterdam are normally Brits that are drunk. So they'll go across and they'll get absolutely fucking smashed. They'll go to the red light district and they cause fucking havoc everywhere. But the actual locals, you see them, they're in coffee shops, they're smoking, they're chilling, they're having a bit of cake, they're having a cup of coffee, they're just relaxing, going about their day. Nobody's died from it. So it's kind of like, I'm certainly not, I'm an advocate for it, but I never understand why that is illegal, yet drink and smoking are fucking legal. Because for me, they're the negative factors. Drinking, I've seen it more. And maybe it's an age thing. Maybe as I get older, the less I need to worry about trying to numb something. I suppose as well, it feeds into that understanding about your mental health. It feeds into about respecting yourself. Also feeds into bettering yourself. I hate the word bettering yourself because I'm not saying you're not adequate enough now, but we've all got room for improvement and there's no human being that's perfect. So for me, it's like, it almost stops the ability to be able to manage those things because you're numbing it. But what you're numbing it into a depression. And then what you're doing is you're now getting to the point where you're drinking to numb the depression. But then that depression is going to come back round at some point and it's going to smack you so hard in the face that hopefully you don't do something stupid. But inherently, that's what happens. You sit there and get drunk. And and the amount of suicides, if we're going to talk about mental health, the amount of male suicides that I see where they always think that the answer is at the bottom of a bottle, and it never is. It's never at the bottom of a bottle. It really isn't. And the depressions, and that's because you're not using it in moderation. I think it's like anything. Like I said to you, if you want to smoke, you smoke. It's up to you. If you want to vape, you want to vape. It's up to you. You want to drink. It's up to you. You can carry on. But if you do those things to excess, then expect repercussions. And what I do think is all of those factors, they hinder success. Like if I was to sit there and if I was to, look back at my last 4 years where I was drinking heavily, would I say I'm successful? No, I wouldn't say I was successful. I'm successful in certain areas, but I'm not as successful as I could be if I was fully compos mentis. I would not be because I was in a permanent spiral of depression, and all I was doing was waiting for the next drink. And I was getting to the next drink, and then I was drinking for the few days, and then everyone was like, "Fucking hell, you look a bit rough." I was like, "Yeah, I was fucking bad last night, mate." And then you normally get the comrades will sit there and go, "Fucking bad on a Wednesday, you wanker." Good lad, because that's how we treat them in Britain. We're like, "Fucking hell, getting on it on a Wednesday on a school night, fucking get on at a school." And it almost felt a little bit naughty, didn't it? It always felt naughty. It always felt a bit naughty, didn't it? It always felt, what are you doing? I'm drinking on a school night, mate. Fuck you know. And you go into work and you'd be sat there going, fucking hell, I'm hanging up my ass. And culturally, it's almost accepted that you can go into work with a hangover for years, especially in the military. I remember in the military, I used to go out on a bop night on a Wednesday, absolutely fucking mashed. And I remember a couple of times I came down and I had to open up the door. And I remember walking up the road to work to open up the hangar. And I remember sitting at the hangar and I used to go, hold on, guys. And there'd be a fucking gaggle of people waiting for you because I was normally late. And then I'd reach the side and I'd fucking barf up and then I'd walk in and open the thing and I'd let my boss know, I'm going to clean that up now. Don't worry, mate. I'm just going to pull myself together. And it was accepted. You were like, I think you need to get your head down. I think what you need to do, mate, is I think you need to address why I've turned up to work unprofessional. Do you know what I mean? But it was accepted. And yes, again, it feeds into, we had shit jobs. So it was a way of like, do you know what, mate? As long as you get your fucking job done, I don't give a shit what you do. And to be fair, in them days, because I used to put breathing apparatus on with forced breathing air, it was the best thing since sliced bread, because you were getting pure oxygenated air into your lungs, and you were sat there going, this is fucking lovely. I can just sit here. And actually it was a bit of a hangover cure. Don't condone it though, so don't do it. But it's interesting how we feed into those things with mental health, and how we try to numb these things with drinking drugs. And inherently what we're doing is we're just dulling ourselves down. And it sort of feeds into that mask. That mask bit is dulling myself down. I'm not being who I want to be. My voice, my tone, everything is all subdued. My actions subdued. My emails, professional. Everything's subdued to what I want to be. And it drives into, and one of those things, and I'm gonna chug a plug. I'm gonna chug a plug. I'm gonna chuck a plug in there. That's ultimately why I'm trying to do a GoFundMe. I'm trying to do a GoFundMe because I know for a fact I can't do this for the rest of my life. I can physically, I could do it, because it's like anything. It's a job. You do your job. The more you learn about your job, the easier it gets. I can't do it because I can't mask up anymore. I can't see myself for the next 20 years of employment, because I've actually got 23 years of employment left. That's depressing. See, that's depressing. I've got 23 years of work. Fucking work 24. Do you know what I mean? And that's if the fucking retirement age doesn't move again. So I think to myself, I've worked this long. Unfortunately, it didn't feel like work then because I wasn't masking up, but I don't think I can do another fucking 23 fucking years of working in this environment masking up. I genuinely don't think I can. It's just way too professional for me. I want that little bit, and it's striking that balance. And I suppose then maybe there's someone out there that's experienced this. Maybe there's someone out there that's masked up for this long. Maybe they're struggling, or maybe they've found ways of not struggling. And don't get me wrong, I do as much fun outside of work as I can. I do wakeboarding, I do sup paddleboarding. I go out to events. I go to the cinema, or I go out for meals, or whatever it may be. I go camping, I go fishing. I play games. I do sim racing. I play darts. I play pool. I do everything I can. Like I've got a wealth of tools I can use to try and help me to navigate that life. But I'm having to mask so much now, and there's no reprieve for at least 80% of my week, that it's exhausting me. It's actually exhausting me. And I'm sat there going, like, I don't know what to fucking do. Now I think to myself, if my GoFundMe comes to fruition, which is I want a kennel and cattery, and I want to run my own business so I can put in what I get out, I'm willing to put in. But if I can walk around and fucking F and Jeff and make fucking animal noises and all this sort of stuff, if I can do that on a daily basis and just be a ham and build stuff and DIY, because that's me. That's who I am. I build. I love DIY. I love building. I love design. I love animals. I love fucking business, but it's on myself. All of these things, I'm trying to encompass it into one big ball of fun. That's what I'm trying to do. So it's interesting as we navigate through life. And I think the older I get, the harder it gets anyway. One thing I've noticed is hitting my 40s. Well, there's lots. I mean, I'll tell you now, one thing I didn't think I'd ever be doing today is I didn't think I'd be sticking a tube of Germaline with a fucking insert nozzle up my bum and squeezing it out and then drawing this tube out of my backside because I had piles. I genuinely did not think I'd be doing that ever in my life. And I've had a good fibrous diet. But I was sat there and I went, this ain't a fucking good feeling, mate. Googled it. And I went, this is what I think it is. Had a little route round. This is what it feels like. And that's where I am. So there's lots of things that I didn't realize I'd be doing at 44. I text my mates and I text my brothers and I was like, I had this photo of me with the fucking tube going, wish me fucking luck. My mate was like, make sure you use 2 fingers. I was like, mate, I'm not putting my fucking fingers up there. So there's lots of things that I'm encountering at 40 that at 40 plus, I didn't realize I'd ever be encountering. And there's probably out there. I mean, I know that piles is quite a common thing, especially pregnant women and stuff like that. I feel your pain, quite literally feel your pain. But that was me this morning. I was sat there going, fucking hell, I didn't expect this on a fucking Tuesday. But there's lots of things that are the unexpected as you get older. But one thing I'm noticing now is that ability to mask is getting harder, getting tougher. My want for actually what I want in life is becoming more prevalent. I What I want out of life is becoming more prevalent. And I suppose it's one of those things that, I mean, if you were on average, I'm above halfway through my life. If you were looking at the average statistic, I think the average male age is something like 76 for the average male age, and I'm 44. So I'm already above halfway through my life. So for me, it's almost like a second awakening. I did read somewhere a few years back that you're born twice. You're born the first time you're born, and then the second time you're born is when you realize that you've got one life and you need to live it. And I certainly think that for me, the last couple of years, so I didn't really feel it at 30. A lot of people feel it at 30. I didn't feel it any in my 30s. I thought I was invincible still. I didn't really feel it at 40. Even at my 40th, I was kind of like, I'm still who I am. It was when I was 42, and I looked at myself, and I was classed as obese. I was on the scale of morbidly obese. I was about 16 stone. I was drinking heavily. I was eating fucking poor diet choices, no exercise. Yes, I'm successful. I was successful financially and successful professionally. But I sacrificed to be successful financially and successful professionally. I sacrificed a lot of my life. I sacrificed a lot of the fun to be who I am. And now I'm getting to the point where I'm like, I'm not enjoying this at all. I'm not enjoying getting up in the morning. I'm getting up in the morning at the moment, and I'm that exhausted. And I'm getting up, I'm doing my routine where I'm getting up, I'm going for a walk with the dog, I'm coming back home, and when I finish walking the dog between 7:15, normally when I finish walking the dog, 7:15, and then normally I start work at 7:30. I've noticed the last couple of weeks I've been staying, and I've not been starting work till 8:30. Now, what do you think I've been doing from 7:15 till 8:30? I've been asleep on the sofa because I'm that fucking exhausted, and I don't want to face my day, that I'm going, fuck, this is fucking horrible. I don't want to keep doing this. So I'm taking accountability for that, and I'm trying to look elsewhere, and I'm trying to see if there's an avenue I can go down it. Hence the reason why I'm managing my mental health. So one of the biggest life-changing things for me when I realized to go back and revert back when I was 42, and I saw this happening, and then even at 40 up to 43. So it's right up until 43. So I got into my end of my 43rd year, and it's been the last 8 months where I've gone, sort your fucking self out, mate. You cannot fucking sustain this. Lose weight, sort your diet out, cut drinking, and then look to see what makes you happy and what makes you tick. Now, that's very much why I'm in this ethos. So one of the biggest things I spoke about in my last podcast, which I didn't upload, but I'll give you a snippet into, because I will talk about it. Eventually it will come back to fruition at some point. But one of the biggest things I said is how I'm trying to take control of my life. And that was one of the things I did. I took control of my life at 39, and I changed my whole profession for the better, I thought. Financially, professionally, yes. Mentally, no, absolutely not. For fun side of things, absolutely not. There's nothing in my current life to do professionally that I'm finding fun. Now, you remember that most of the time I work Monday to Friday, and I work at least 7.5 hours a day, every day. So at least 7.5 hours of my day, Monday to Friday, I have to be that person. I have to be professional. There's no room for error. There's no room for fun. So when I get home, I'm normally that exhausted that I end up just silent. Like the last 2 years, I've almost sat in here after work for about 2 hours to fully decompress before I can go in and then see my family. That's how bad it's got. So I've seen this, and yes, I've advanced professionally, and I've advanced financially. Kudos points for that. But that's not fun. Life isn't about fucking that. Life is not just about money. And I prioritized professionalism and finance. And that's the wrong thing for me. Yes, I've got loads of skills and experience in this, and I've learned a hell of a lot, and I've become hopefully invaluable in certain areas. But what I will say is I'm not happy as I've reflected, as I've taken control. When I was 39, took control of that and prioritized that and got to where I am now. Again, 8 months ago, or the start of this year, so January 2025, I said to myself, getting your work-life balance back, start trying to get exercise back, start sorting your diet out, stop your drinking, lose weight, get to an acceptable level of where you feel comfortable with your weight. And I've seen my health go through the roof, as in I sleep better, I'm less moody, I don't snore anymore, I feel fitter, and I do have genuinely have more energy. It's energy, physical energy is different to emotional energy. Emotional energy, I can't. That's the emotional energy is completely and utterly pinned to professional and finance, because that's what I've chosen. I've not chosen to um I've not chosen to prioritize fun or prioritize my family. I've chosen to prioritize knowledge, skills, experience, professionalism, and finance, on the basis that those will make that better eventually. So yes, there is elements where financially stability has given me the ability to give a better life to my children. So plus kudos, I've been able to give my uh, both my eldest daughters, so my two eldest, 18 and 19, I've been able to give them decent cars and pay for their insurance. Okay, so I've given them a better start of life, a start that I didn't have as a child. I did not have that luxury. They've never wanted for anything. They have the technology, they have lovely bedrooms, they have what they want, what they need. So I've given them that. I've been able to take them on holidays and pay for them to be on holidays, and I've given them that start of life. So I take that as a positive for the sacrifice that I've given them, but I haven't been able to give them love, fun, or the real me, because I've been emotionally exhausted from the prioritization over here. So it's really interesting how um, it takes me such a long time to try and understand that. So, and that's where I think I get to a point now where I'm, as I've got older and I've realized that, and I think it's almost that second awakening. I was talking about where you're born again, and that was at 42 for me. And I went, fuck. And I didn't really kick in gear till 43, and then really got up to traction this year. I was like, fuck, I need to start sorting this out. So I did. I've sorted that out, and I've got a few things. Prioritize my weight loss. Prioritize, being at home more. Getting out at weekends with my family a little bit more, so I'm not exhausted. Yes, that's taken a little bit of a toll on the professionalism side, or that's made things harder on the professionalism side of things, because I've had to almost work at pace over here to achieve what I was already achieving, but give myself more time. So again, what that has inherently done is given me more emotional exhaustion that I have to mask and hide to be a better dad and a better husband, better brother, better son, all the good stuff. So it's a balance. And now I'm at this point where I'm going, I don't see myself in this current environment being able to sustain this. I want to be able to be more of myself. And I'm finding that as the hardest part. That I'm not enjoying. I'm not enjoying that element. So it's what I do about that. I don't know. I've taken accountability, and here I am talking about it. So I've taken that first step is start looking and seeing what's out there, seeing what ticks the boxes. So that's my first sort of port call, if you like, whereas I'd be like trying to look to what I can do. So that's where I'm focusing on at the moment. And then what I'm doing is letting some things slip, so that I'm not going above and beyond and not being so much of a yes man, which goes against the grain of my very brain function, if you like, because I like to say yes, I like to succeed, I like to do things for people, and I like to do it at the best of my ability, above and beyond. Normally, I can't do that, so I'm having to step back, and I've been told categorically to do that. The business actually has supported me there and said, "You need to learn to say no, James." And I'm saying, well, I'm gonna bat that back at you. What do I say no to? Because you're the one that you as a business prioritize my workload. So what do I say no to? And that's the bit. That's the bum fight we're having at the moment. Is I'm going, well, what do I say no to? And then when I've said no, 9 times out of 10, they've come back to me and go, well, I get what you're saying, but I need you to do it. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, okay, you're making this really difficult because you've given me a black and white request to say no. And it's to say no things that aren't in my roles or responsibilities. the last two things I've said no to, you've come back to me and said, but we need you. Okay, do I continue to say no? Because bearing in mind, I'm autistic, so I will do what you tell me to do to the letter. And then what will happen is you'll come back at me and say, I need you to do this. And then my rebellious side will turn around to you and go, shut your fucking mouth, mate. I'm not fucking doing that. I've told you fucking once. I'm not going to tell you twice. So to manage that type of leadership is very difficult for a neurodivergent. And I'm sure there's people out there that have encountered this. So it's a minefield. It's very much a minefield of what to do, what the business needs you to do, but tell you no. And what do I say no to? And when I do say no, you say, no, I don't agree with you saying no. So all of these things are just, they're causing issues, major issues. So I'm at a rock and a hard place is the brutality of it. And even now, I feel like even as I internalize this conversation, and there's bits of me that are processing in the background, I'm still thinking there's a fucking wall up there somewhere, mate, and I can't knock that wall down. I don't know how to knock that wall down, because I know that you need me as a business because of what my skill set is. But at the same time, you're asking me to constantly go above and beyond. And I want to get my work-life balance back to continue to sustain this job. I need to do that. I can't see that happening. So I either have to go, or you have to pay me more to make it worth my while. But then that still doesn't eliminate the fact that I've not given the prioritization to the family over here. So again, then it's an internal conversation with my wife, my kids, and go, are you happy with me? I'm going to be working these hours. So you're going to be happy? They're probably going to say yes, because they don't get me out their hair and it means more money for them. So I don't know. It's a catch-22. I don't fucking know. But it's interesting how we navigate those minefields. And I think those minefields are really, really hard to navigate with neurodivergency. Really, really hard. I think I don't really know the answer to that, really, to be fair. And maybe someone out there listening has come up with a solution or has a pragmatic solution that potentially works for them. I certainly see the feedback that I'm getting, that a lot of people in the comments are saying things like, I'm neurodivergent. I see exactly where you're coming from. I'm a yes man. And I've now got to the point where I'm invaluable, which has made me feel good. It's given me endorphins. But at the same time, it's an unsustainable pace. I mean, how many people have been ADHD that if you go into a work environment, I can guarantee you the first 6 months are like fucking honeymoon phase, because you're in there, you're learning new stuff, you're finding out new systems, you're finding new ways of working, you're meeting new people, you're hearing new stories. And then the second 6 months, and also you don't have a lot of pressure in the first 6 months of a job. Then the second 6 months, you feel a little bit of pressure. But at the same time, you're going, okay, well, now this has become routine. Again, I don't feel that second 6 months, because routine's brilliant for me. So I get the other side ticked and I go, okay, well, this is good. This is a good pace. I like this. This is a good pace. I'm learning new things. I'm happy. So it sort of like suppresses that side of my brain and stops the need. But then I get to a loggerhead where I go, okay, even the routine's getting fucking boring now, mate. And then this guy on the little devil on this side of the shoulder starts going, fucking, you're bored now, mate. Start causing shit. Start being rebellious. Start fucking. And I did. And this year, if you asked anybody, the way I engaged with them, last year was very collaborative, very like, wee. I got given the go ahead to not be so collaborative. That's all. We're always about collaborations where we succeed, but be very formal. And now to be very formal is you've asked me to be formal. I'm going to be formal, and that's what I am. But that's exhausting. That's very mentally exhausting to be formal and constantly recording your work and constantly checking. Like, to be formal as a neurodivergent, I don't just write an email and fucking ping it. I write an email, make sure it's right, and I read that email about 6 or 7 fucking times. I make sure I've got all the information in. And then I spell check it, and then I send it to myself. If it's a really high level email, I send it to myself, because then I can go, I've forgotten about it. And then I reread it, and then I reread it and see all these mistakes. And I go, fucking hell. So what that does is underpins, you need more checks and balances, James. So it gets fucking exhausting, especially when you start dealing with multitude of compliance issues, and you're dealing with a multitude. I'm not going to bore you with compliance, because it's just saying the fucking word bores me. But everything we do is compliance. Every single thing you do is compliance. And it's regulatory compliance, legislation, mandatory, statutory, whatever it may be. So you have to be on point. So you have to be perfect. And if you're not perfect, there's a shark. And 9 times out of 10, you'll have a little pool of sharks just fucking swimming around you. And as soon as you make a mistake, those bastards, you're chucking the chum in and they're ready to fucking bite. They're ready to chew down. They're like, you've made a mistake. And I've eaten humble pie plenty of fucking times in the last 6 months. I've eaten humble pie where I've gone fire. And then it's come back to me and they've gone, no, I don't believe you. And they've come up with some evidence. And I go, okay. So what that means is the next time round, I'm going to be even more robust. And we've got to a position now where I'm so fucking robust. I'm like, you're not going to challenge me because I'm going to make it so fucking difficult for you to challenge me. It's not going to be fucking worth it. And sometimes it just comes to a face-to-face. It comes to a face-to-face where we just have to agree that one of us is wrong. And then we go, shall we have a private amicable agreement that we're both wrong? Yes, let's do this. Now, what's the way forward? So there's always a way of resolving it, a way out of it. But at the same time, it's difficult to get there. It's difficult to get there. So that's just a little bit something like a masking. So I'm interested to know about what you think about masking and whether it has changed you, certainly changed me. I certainly find it difficult. Emotional regulation is worse than ever. I'm finding now when I do finally decompress, I emotionally react a lot harder because I've not got that emotional regulation's almost gone anyway with ADHD. But I'm at the point now where I'm so exhausted I just go into fight. I just fuck it. I can't be asked. And almost to the point where I go so fucking robust just because I don't want someone to come back to me. I just can't be asked with it. I'm just like, fucking sort it, mate. Or yes, just fuck off. It gets to that point, and that's where I'm at. And and I think that the only thing I can put it down to is masking. It's absolutely put it down to masking. So I'd be interested to know what your thoughts are around masking, whether it's made you change, whether it's made you a different person, whether you have to mask. I think there's a time and a place for masking. I really do. I think there's an element of maturity comes with masking anyway. You have to mask to a certain degree in certain places. You can't walk in places and just be yourself. You have to have an element of masking. But I'd be interested to know if you're over masking, and has it changed? If you reflected right now, has it changed your personality? Are you truly who you are when you put that mask on? How much do you mask? Is it just enough to get by? Or do you mask to the point where I am, where I'm almost, it's not a fucking front mask on. I've got a full bodysuit on. Do you know what I mean? I'm Mrs. Doubtfire. That's who I am. That's who I fucking feel like. I'm Mrs. Doubtfire. I'm fucking banging around with a fucking full bodysuit on, just fucking, and a new voice. Like, yeah, this is fucking Jimbo. How's it going? Reality of it is, fuck off, mate. Let's get a beer. Let's get some beer. Fucking let's go. Do you know what I mean? So I'll be interested to know what your food of thought is on that. I'm going to leave you on that message, actually, because I feel I've had a positive from this, and I feel it's given me a little bit of food for thought, a little bit of reflection time, and something to think about. And hopefully I've got the settings right now with this double filter on, and I've set the settings or the gains down. I also had the wrong... there's a pattern on there as well. There's like a pattern button. Transpires I had the wrong pattern. I had it for dual. So I think that may have caught some distortion because it was reading for the mic from this side, whereas I should have had it on the front. So a little bit of technical babble there, a little bit of techno babble. Not that I know fuck all about it, hence the reason why I've made faux pas so many times on this one. What I will say is we are encroaching on seasonal affect disorder. So I just want to put a little message out there just to be cautious. Watch your mental health as we encroach in the darker mornings, the darker evenings, the colder evenings. Like I said, colder than a witch's tit lately. I don't know why I did that. Should be like that, and I don't know why I did that. Colder than a witch's tit out there. So wrap up, keep yourself warm. I've got that there. That's my sad lamp, and I get the beauty of doing this podcast. I have the sad lamp in the background. Number one, it adds a little bit of dynamic lighting because I'm all about dynamic lighting. But the other element is I get to get a little bit of that what feels like sunlight, and then I leave it on for half an hour while I sit here and go, because I literally do the podcast and I go and I have a little snooze. But I sit there, and the reason I do that is because I use a sun lamp for half an hour then. So I'm hopefully I'm getting a big blast in the back of my head. Nobody wants a blast in the back of the head, put it that way. You know what I mean? No donkey punches around here. Woohoo! Anyway, see what I mean? I fucking unfiltered. So hopefully, yeah, hopefully you stay all right. Stay positive. Keep as positive as you can. Spread the positivity, man. Really spread the positivity. And I really do look forward to your feedback. Chuck them in the comments. I try to respond to as many as I can. So take care of yourself. Look after yourself. And I look forward to talking to you all again soon. Take care.